We're bringing the jailer back? Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay, here we go. Iridikron vs. the Jailer. How the World Souls Saga villain fixed WoW's biggest mistake. This is a title worthy of a click. I always said Iridikron is a pretty good villain. I actually think he's one of the better villains WoW's made in quite a while. And the Jailer was probably the worst villain WoW has ever made. So let's see what Taliesin and Evitel are onto here.
This video is sponsored by Squarespace.
Dragonflight is officially over from a story sense. The dragon aspects are all back together and empowered by Azeroth. Firak is defeated and...
Empowered by friendship. Get it right, Taliesin. This isn't a friendship expansion.
Belemeth is growing nicely in the Dragon Isles. Malfurion is back and... Malfurion. You know, Malfurion with the wings on his arms. Sleepy chap. Tyranda's husband. Yeah, Malfurion. He's back. And we have new leaders for the newly housed Gilneans, the Tree Folk,
he's back,
and
right.
the Green Folk. The Planeteers have started...
Not only is Malfurion back, he's probably breaking that back. Just saying.
To hear whispers from Azeroth, and we are on a one-way ticket to the World Souls Saga, a trio of expansions.
About to be the Emerald Wet Dream.
Very confident is going to be 6 years of absolute bangers for the following reasons: 1, Chris Metzen is back, running narrative. 3, Xalatath exists, and G, WoW finally has a cool, interesting, and motivated long-term antagonist in the form of Iridikron. General opinion is this is a bad.
Can I just say Iridikron makes some great entrances? Like this guy, he is the entrance king. He's had some good, like where he pops up, we're fighting Galakron's dead body, and then, oh, there's Iridikron up at the top, you know, monologuing with his damn shit that he's holding in his hand. And or the way he broke the mountain here, or the way he bursted out of the freaking orb in, back when we freed him for the first time in the Razageth fight. I mean, this guy just knows how to make a villain entrance.
Being done right. But why exactly is that? What makes Iridididi a cut above the usual WoW fare and worthy of carrying the next 3 expansions on his stony, scaly back? Is he really any better than the most hated WoW antagonist of all time, Zovaal, the Jailer? Well, there's only one way to find out. Ladies and gentlemen, join us as we pit Stony Boy against Nipple King in an attempt to highlight why Iridikron is such a good bad guy and worthy of being the World Soul Saga's main antagonist. Or maybe not, because, you know, in a one-on-one, anything can happen. Zovaal might surprise us. Who knows? Who knows? It's Iridikron versus the Jailer. Who will win? Okay, go, 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 go.
Ooh. Ooh. All right, here we go.
Let's start at the very beginning. How are each of these 2 expansion baddies introduced to us? Well, technically, the first time we saw the Jailer was in the Shadowlands Features trailer, where he appears as this shadowy form behind Sylvanas, and it was spooky and mysterious and intriguing, but also a relief, because his appearance here came not only as a tease, but as a
That's not the Jailer. That's not the Jailer. We know who that is. We know. That's the fucking Primus.
That finally, we as players would be let into what on earth had been going on with Sylvanas during BFA, where she had gone from sensible new war chief to bloodthirsty war crime general to brutal dictator to strangely powerful and magically empowered outcast, clearly working with a greater force with a secret super objective we could only guess at. And if you were hoping to get any of that explained in the expansion, it all happened.
I mean, this lore was shit, but say what you want. These cinematics were S tier, man. The BFA in-game fully rendered cinematics, that's the best damn storytelling Blizzard's ever done.
In, then
I miss
friend,
that shit.
You were bum out of luck because we got nothing, which was not incredibly satisfying from an audience point of view, in my opinion. But that's BFA problems, because here is the answer. Blizzard's grand plan that they've definitely planned out in advance and definitely know the ending for, and you can tell just how well planned the Jailer is because the next time we see him, he's got a completely different design, which is fine by itself.
I really think Blizzard initially, if you look at honestly. If God, what's his name? I just said his name like freaking 5 minutes ago. I guess I need cocaine in my coffee. But if you look at the Primus, that's what I'm thinking of. If you look at the Primus's outline and everything, that's clearly him. And I think part of what Blizzard originally was going to do was make him the villain in some way. And then they just, I don't know if I could pull a U-turn or something and decide to go in a different direction. But it was very obvious. And there was even art out there. Remember the art leak? It was the freaking Primus. It looked just like him. But then they pulled a 180 and decided to go with a bald man with large nipples as the end boss. So.
And decided topless prison tattoo jailer looked better than Ice King jailer, and that's fine. He does look cool in this high res sizzle reel that came out the week before Shadowlands released. And you know what? Let's not be dicks about this. The first time we see him in game, proper, is pretty good too. The Friendship is Magic gang is whisked away by death angels, and we descend into literal hell with the Ebon Blade to rescue them. And then, as we wade through the denizens of literal hell, we eventually see the evil driving force behind not just this expansion, but technically the last one as well, stood atop a ridge. The armies of hell at his back, throwing a beloved, or at least reasonably popular for those who have heard of him, lore character to his doom. I know we all hate the opening Moor scenario these days, because we had to do it on all our alts, but try to think back to your first time. This is cool. This is
this wasn't bad. The problem with the jailer, the reason why a lot of us hated him, was he never got anything more than this surface level bullshit. Right here, he's doing his typical villain monologue. We've seen a lot of that in WoW and a lot of games. That's fine, but it never went deeper than that. Like, he always had this plan that we never figured out. He literally, his final words is, "What is to come?" Come on. Even at the end, we never realized what his plan was. Now, eventually, I guess we're going to figure it out, but it was very unsatisfying. His whole story arc was very unsatisfying.
Absolutely baller introduction.
Iridikron's plan, he fucking says it. I'm going to bait the Titans out, and I'm going to beat the ever-living shit out of them. Like, we know his plan. Makes sense. And everything he does is in motivation of fulfilling that plan. Now, there are some secrets to what he's doing, and that makes sense because he doesn't want us to stop his plan before it comes to fruition, but we know what his motivations are. It makes sense with his backstory and everything. The jailer is just like, we didn't know shit about him for most of the expansion, and even at the end, we didn't really get a lot of questions answered. It's just, hey, he's angry, he's bald, and he's coming for us.
To a baddie. This is a solid 9 out of 10, were it not for one
we should have helped
little detail. His first voice line. A new baddie, a clean slate, countless possibilities, and endless potential to form this guy into a modern antagonist different from anything else we've ever seen before. And no shit, the first thing he says is... in the exact same deep, gravelly baddie voice that we got in Wrath, Cataclysm, Mists, Warlords, and BFA. And you gotta say...
gotta have a high testosterone, deep voice.
That's some lame-ass shit right there, isn't it? Maybe you think I'm going over the top, and I probably am, but when I heard this opening line, my eyes rolled back so far into my head that I could see my own brain, including the bit completely ruined by years of listening to uninspired video game baddies. 0 out of 10! Otherwise, though, I do like this introduction. He's big, he's bad, he's gathering an army, and if we're still no closer to working out why the whole BFA thing happened, the action of these scenes at least sets up the immediate story that plays out in the leveling campaign. Honestly, it's solid. Okay, fine, 7 out of 10. Compared to Iridikron, who...
You guys want to know one of my favorite intros into an expansion quest lines ever? WoD. Warlords of Draenor had one of the best intro, play through the quest, get to know what's going on, introduction of the villains, all that. Best. You know, say what you want about how WoD ended or as an expansion as a whole, but damn, that intro quest line and storyline into WoD was fantastic. I love that shit. Come on, the whole army chasing you down the path. You remember you're running with Khadgar and all the other heroes. You're just getting blasted. That was so good, man. It was so good. And then Hellscream and the other orcs show up at the top of the ridge at the very end. And WoD started out on fire. That shit was good.
Doesn't appear at the beginning of his expansion at all. All of the advertising
the
for
lag
the
spikes,
expansion
just so many
and
people
the whole
join.
first act of that story is focused on Razageth, until the action climaxes in a fight with Stormgirl at the end of the Vault of Incarnates raid, where despite our apparent victory, the primal
Legion was good
Incarnates
too.
are released.
Legion was
and
good.
I have to say, I love this. I love how we've just been chasing one badass elemental dragon capable of beating Alexstrasza down for the entire patch, finally defeating her at the end of the raid, only for the game to be like, whoa, well done, you beat the crazy baddie dragon. Now there are 3 of them. And I love the way that they introduce themselves too, because it is so to the point. No mucking around here. We know exactly what these guys' motivations are. Viranoth is distraught at the death of her sister. Firak is promising vengeance on us. And Iridikron, whose voice is twice as deep and boomy and warcrafty as the other two.
Who betrayed dragonkind to the Titans will face our
Bam. Motivation, right there. We know it. From the second the first time we see him, he tells us what his motivation is. He goes, bitch, I'm going to wipe out anybody who sided with the Titans. And then those Titans, I'm coming for them too.
Gives us a handy bulletproof super objective summary sheet. He hates the Titans. Everyone who helps them, gone get it. In just a few seconds, we have already got a fair read on what makes these guys tick.
Wad
as
raids
well
were
as the
good,
fact
why?
that huge stone one who would have just eaten us straight up had Khadgar not ported us out is obviously the biggest and baddest of them all. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but Tally, you just went off on the jailer for having the standard growly wow baddie voice. Are you seriously going to let Iridikron off the hook when he has the exact same thing going on? And that is a fair question, honestly, and the answer is yeah, I am actually. There are a whole bunch of reasons we'll be discussing in just a moment as to how Iridididi avoids a lot of the usual wow baddie cliches, but I think the main difference between this baddie intro and the jailer's is the jailer doesn't care about us. The first time we see him, he's discarding Bane just like Blizz. The fact that we are in his home tearing shit up is not more important to him than whatever his big plan is. It's only later during our escape that he suddenly becomes interested in Anduin, but only in so much as he can be used as part of that plan. Whereas these three, they already hate us. We, the player, are explicitly identified as the people they hold responsible and who they are going to make pay first. Presumably there is also a grand plan they will put into motion, but it's instantly personal between us before any of that. It's a difference of immediacy and involvement, and I think it's great. So even though there's nothing necessarily wrong with the jailer's introduction, I think in this case, Iridikron just edges it and wins round one.
He's right. I mean, Iridikron, his first order of business when he was freed, he tried to kill. He literally tried to kill us, came right at us. And freaking the jailer, he just like was tossing us. He's like, mortals, get the hell out of here. What are you guys doing? I got shit I gotta do. Get the fuck out of here. Go play the expansion. I gotta go over here and do this shit. So yeah, there definitely was like Iridikron was like, he made it personal from the second he saw us. He was like, I'm gonna come for you. I'm coming. Sam, tell us your motivation for being such an amazing streamer and leading these scuffed community raids. My motivation in streaming is to create a community of complete degenerates who want to get together every day and basically raid and react to things and spread degeneracy across the internet. Yeah, I think I'm doing a good job.
If you are going to have a major antagonist lording it up over the player for an expansion or more, then their personality is going to be a major contributing factor in how effective they are. Some of my favourite baddies in recent times have been Emmett Selk in Shadowbringers because of his relatable but ultimately heinous objectives, but also because of the complicated relationship he had to the characters. He would occasionally help you even though he was obviously bad news, and he was fun to have around even though you knew you were blatantly going to have to kill him because of all the reality destroying and stuff. You love to hate him, as opposed to Fandaniel, who I just hate, period. Fandaniel is the worst. Seriously, f*** off Fandaniel. I also love Ketheric Thorm from Baldur's Gate 3, because he's
this guy looks cool.
So sad. And the Emperor, too, who is such a nuanced and manipulative gaslighter. I can guarantee you there are loads of people watching this right now who are like, wait, the Emperor's not a bad guy? But I assure you,
looks
and
like
I'm
an
sorry
old
to
god.
tell you this, but he definitely is. There are basically no main antagonists like this in WoW. Even the Zoth, who totally could and probably should have been Emperor levels of manipulative, ended up as just another boomy voice promising an—
Or did he? Or did he? N'Zoth's still alive. He's alive. He's in the dagger. He's used us as Horcruxes. He gave us his essence. He's all over the place. Some people never cleansed him. He's alive. He's alive, all right? N'Zoth's going to have his great moment as a villain.
annihilation. And the Jailer is another painfully bland example of that formula. Like, what is the Jailer's personality? I know his backstory. He was imprisoned by his fellow Eternal Ones for betraying them, spent the next billion years planning his escape so that he could pick up his halted plan where he left off. But as for what he's like as a person, we just don't see it.
Yeah.
He is presumably fairly convincing when he wants to be, because he has persuaded Helia and Anathrius and Sylvanas to join him despite what must be their better judgment. But we see none of that charm or bargaining in the game at all. Every time he interacts with anyone, he's just ordering them about. And even if we could understand why they're all willing to throw their lot in with him, in theory, the game does a terrible job of actually showing us. I guess you could say that he has a major superiority complex. He's pretty disloyal and he's very, very patient. But these are standard boring antagonist characteristics 101. And
Agreed.
obviously, the reason we don't learn anything about Zovaal the bloke is because Shadowlands isn't very interested in exploring that. A decision was made in
it's probably some like when I said BFA has some of the best storytelling. Whether or not you like the story or not, they did a good job telling the story. Besides the fact that they had a lot of the pre-BFA shit in a fucking novel that you had to read outside of the game, which is absolutely ridiculous because no lore for a game that is required to understand what is going on in the game should not be occurring in the game. But that's besides the fact. Shadowlands told no stories. We had no idea what was going on half the time. I'm just collecting my damn anima shit or whatever, going through freaking Torghast for the 36th time so I can remake my legendary and do all, like, it was horrible. I never understood justification for anything I was doing. I still don't even know what the hell happened, honestly. I don't. And that's because there was never a good story. They never told the story.
Shadowlands to focus on the relationship between Anduin and Sylvanas, and the scenes we get between those two are great. I will fight anyone on this. The interactions between Anduin and Sylvanas and the impact they
Stranger
have
Things
on
is
each
great.
other is the best thing about the Shadowlands narrative, and these cinematics are brilliant. But that doesn't help Zovaal, who remains basically an emotionless egg with nipples and bad guy for real though written on it. 2 out of 10. And half of that score is purely for the moment of his actual death, where he actually looks scared and vulnerable for the first time in flashback. And it's like, yo, why didn't we see any of this before?
This was great. This was great. I made an entire video where I rewrote the Jailer's lore. Check it out. It's like the main video on my homepage of my YouTube channel. And it's so, like, I use this scene because this is like the one emotional scene where, like, you see Zovaal, not the Jailer, you see Zovaal as like a person with emotion and all kinds of shit on his face. Like, you see it. But this is like, we only got this. This was like 2 seconds of that, and that's it. Okay. He's dead, too, by the way. Like, he dies right after this, so it didn't even matter.
Is pretty interesting. Iridikron, thankfully, is a whole different bag of rocks. There are 2 things about him that I think make him a cut above not just the Jailer, but nearly every other major WoW antagonist ever, personality-wise. The first is that he's initially one of 3. The first handful of times that we see Iridikron, he is with Viranoth and Firak, which instantly gives him a level of interaction with other characters that we rarely see. And this isn't like Zovaal and Sylvanas interactions, where he's always like,
Do this thing you fundamentally stand against for that reason we've never really gone into.
and we're like,
Right.
oh, what do you even see in him, Queen? No, this is the primal incarnates interacting as equals and friends, and it's fun to watch their different personalities shine through. Viranoth is stoic and idealistic, Firak is the hilariously gleeful chaos goblin, and Iridikron is, in many ways, the most passionate and single-minded. Yes, he's sound.
Yeah, the whole, they did such a good job with these, man. The primal incarnates are so well done. Their personalities, we don't need 2 hours of cutscenes and cinematics. We literally understand their personalities within like the first 10 seconds, where they're just having that conversation between the 3 of them. We know how they are, just the way Taliesin described them. It's so good, and then you get a little bit more with these fight scenes. Just well done, man.
And feels a lot like WoW big bads of the past, but he has the other 2 to act as foils and keep his scenes from becoming one note. And
Another thing, I mean, we know about their power levels instantly too, and who is really the Giga Chad amongst the 3 with these fight scenes. Because Viranoth takes on some, Firak like melts one, but then, they each fought one, and then you got Iridikron, who essentially like eliminates 5 of these guys at once. And you're like, oh, okay. I see who the strongest of the 3 is. Like, it didn't have to be said. You just knew it instantly from the cinematic.
Those 3 are no longer hanging out, but Blizz do appear to be setting up a tag team with everyone's favorite Naifu Xalatath for the World Souls saga, and that would be awesome. Zali Baby being all sassy and voidy, playing off Iridikron's grumpy obsessive determination, has potential to be a great dynamic, and I
I'm interested to see him in
stan it, but I don't ship it, obviously, because the only person Xalatath is allowed to be shipped with is me. Sorry, I don't make the rules. Actually, I did kind of make that rule, but it's an important rule. The other big difference, the most important difference, is his attitude towards the player. Not only does he hate us personally, but unlike literally any other big bad, he is actually wary of us.
Do not underestimate them.
True.
Firak. Our sister's overconfidence was her downfall.
It sounds
great.
stupid, but when you think about it, no one from Illidan through Arthas, Deathwing, Garrosh, Grom, the Legion, N'Zoth, or the Jailer has ever seriously entertained the idea that we might beat them. We are either pitiful mortals not to be fussed with, or pawns in their great game. Iridikron is the only one ever who is like, oh, these guys, they're nails. We're gonna have to be careful around these badass mofos.
Yeah, and it's so good because it makes him seem very smart and like well versed in the world. Right? This guy's been in prison this entire time, but he knows. He knows. He's like, hey man, I saw what they did to Razageth. I know what they're capable of. You know, we gotta tread lightly here. And when the time is right, we'll take our shot. But that time isn't now, which is awesome. It's a much cooler villain. It almost humanizes him in a way, right? It's well done.
Look what happened to Razageth.
I keep saying
and for that alone,
it's true.
he easily wins this round over.
What's up, Baby J?
A super important part of any major baddie is their motivations for doing what they're doing. To go back to Emmett Selk, his motivations were tragically relatable. He wanted to bring back his reality and his people by destroying 12 other realities, including our own. The Joker in The Dark Knight, at his core, just wants to prove Batman wrong and basically causes chaos and mayhem just because he wants to win an argument about morality. And you know, we're all on the internet, we've all been there. But a baddie's motivation doesn't have to be relatable to be effective. Insert, but I don't want to cure cancer, I want to turn people into dinosaurs meme here. Personally, I am a huge fan of the upfront clarity of Iridikron's motivations.
Yes.
He just really hates the Titans, and not without good reason. They have been incredibly pushy and sus towards Dragonkind, empowering the Incarnate's brood in the egg to make them Titany, not just without consent, but after promising that they wouldn't. Pretty scummy. The Titans definitely suck for how they treated the Incarnates. So for him, his fight against the Titans is really for what he sees as the betrayal of his entire kind by evil gods, and he...
It's so important, honestly, when you think about a good villain, to know what their end goal is, to know what the end game is. You don't have to know their path that they want to take to get there, but it's a way for you to gauge, like, are the heroes winning or are they losing? Because you know whether he's approaching his goal or he's being set back. Like, take Thanos, for example, right? I mean, I enjoyed Thanos a lot as a villain. I thought he was what honestly made the Infinity Saga great. And we understood his motivation. From like day one, we knew what Thanos' motivation was. He believed that the world had been overpopulated and he needed to wipe out half of the world. That's it, half of everything. All life needed to be eradicated up to 50% to rebuild resources to allow things to truly flourish. That made sense. And every step that he took to get there, we understood, like, oh, Thanos is winning. He's getting closer to his goal. Iridikron's the same way. Iridikron is the same way. He laid out his goal early on. I'm going to bitch slap the Titans and muck up anybody who gets in my way or sides with them. And now we know, oh, he got Galakron's essence. Step towards achieving his goal. We understand that. Oh, he sided with Xal'atath. Step towards achieving his goal. We understand. Oh shit, he's making progress. He's getting closer. The Jailer, we never understood what the hell he was up to. We're like, what's his motivation? What's his goal? Is he winning? Is he we don't know. Because we don't know what his end plan is. We never knew. It was ridiculous. Well, I understand that his eventually, okay, he wanted to power up that freaking, the mechanism of the shit and re-originate and do all that. Okay, that's fine, but we didn't understand it until it failed, essentially. Like, it was about to fail. That's when we finally understood it. Otherwise, we were just sitting with our hands in our pants. We didn't know what the hell was going on.
Really does just want to wipe them out, destroying anyone who gets in his way and allying with anyone.
He's angry, he's balding, and he's coming for you.
Understandable,
Yeah, basically.
clear, simple. 8 out of 10, rising to 9 out of 10 because it's the Titans who he wants to kill, and I'm actually kind of on board. Zovaal has motivation too, one that he is willing to betray his brothers and sisters for, one that he planned his escape over 1 billion years just so he could continue fighting for it, one that he considers to be the most important thing facing the entire universe. And of course, that is, we don't know. We know that he wants to be grand ruler of the entire cosmos because
a cosmos divided will not survive.
What the fuck is he talking about?
What is
but we never find find out
Imagine your last words were come. Imagine.
what is to come is, do we? So honestly, it's kind of hard to care, isn't it? Kind of hard to get invested. It's kind of shit, to be honest. 1 out of 10, another round to Iridikron.
Hello? Hello? Oh, hey, we're back! We're back
Squarespace
in
ad.
the saddle and we are ready and raring to go in 2024. Patches,
Yeah, so far I
roadmaps,
totally agree with everything he's saying in this
expansions. I am
video.
so excited for what
Very
lies
true.
ahead this year. Not least of all our continuing
Take great pains to ensure that
partnership with Squarespace, who are sponsoring this
go through
video.
to make sure your last word is
You
come.
might remember that back in December, I took a big step into the unknown.
Well, I always
and
thought his last
actually
words were
gave
referring to the void.
Squarespace shop integration a try.
Yeah.
And ladies and gents, I have
Void.
not been disappointed. Look
Dreadlords.
how smooth and shiny these shop
Maybe he was talking about the
pages are.
Titans.
Look at that beautiful product customization.
That's the thing. We still don't know. Look at this. Look, Wretch, what you're saying is like the perfect example of what I've been talking about. We still have no fucking idea what his motivation was. Expansions later, we still don't know.
Worldwide after accidentally setting it to UK only for a whole month. Whoops. But that's not even what I want to talk about today. Today,
The Titans are gonna
I'm
come?
very proud to share with you that I have
Maybe.
added one more shop item. I had a look through Printful's extensive product catalog again and chose a mug, of all things. And I didn't even bother giving it a new design, but that's because I wanted to show you how easy it is to use the upload library and
Let's
templates
just stop
to make
what is to
even
come,
more
Samuel.
stuff. Obviously,
Stop the
Printful
come.
even tells you it's
Fantastic.
syncing with Squarespace, and boom, it's live on the site and ready to go. How cool is that? Only thing left to do now is buy it, I guess. You know what I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell you to do now. Head to squarespace.com/taliesinevitell or use code taliesinevitell, where you can build your own extremely original shop and even save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
I'll
That's
read it.
squarespace.com/taliesinevitell. Tally, you'll never guess what's going
There
on
you
the
go.
shop
Use their
next.
code.
What?
A white mug. A mug. White mug.
What?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Arguably, the most important part of a big bad is their plan, especially in a
Yes.
video game, because it's
Yes.
the baddie's plan and fighting against it that shapes your actions and gameplay the most. This is, of course, different from
Thanos' plan. Eliminate half-life and everywhere. Eliminate all life up to 50% to get all that shit back together. Iridikron's plan, right? Bitch slap the Titans. Avenge what had happened. Kill anybody who is aligned with the Titans. Bowser's plan. Marry Peach. If that doesn't work, eliminate everything that she loves. Like, good villains, good plans. It makes sense. We know the plan, we know the villain. Are they getting closer to achieving their goal? That's the important part.
objective and motivation. Objective is what a character wants to achieve, motivation is why they want to achieve it, and their plan is how they intend to go about reaching their objective. Now obviously Zovaal, he's a plan man. Much memeage was made in the community during Shadowlands about the jailer's 9,000 IQ plan, how he'd been laying the foundations down for thousands of years, how every move legendary lore characters ever made was playing into his hands by doing exactly what he expected of them, as the famous Reddit post goes, which we animated in a previous video.
Okay, let's see how galaxy brain this man had to be. Picture this. You are the jailer, and you have been imprisoned by your college improv team. You have to convince one of the people that banished you to super hell to now be your friend. You know how prisoners casually convince the warden to start working for them? Something like that. Next, you have to convince the warden to start the best spy industry ever to be created. Simple plan, baba bing, baba boom. Now, use that spy system to convince beings of pure chaos and void to start spewing onto random planets. Then, use one of them to corrupt a being of pure justice. All easy stuff. This is where the jailer's genius shines through. Have your army, now working for the corrupted Titan, be strong enough to level entire galaxies except this one
but
random
not that
planet.
strong.
That has all the stuff on for some reason. Now keep this Titan, who doesn't know he's working for you, just out of reach of his goal for millennia. The fun part begins. Use the spies to convince one of the Titan guy's allies to create a zombie guy with the express purpose of having a hat and killing and then...
The most blasphemous part of this entire damn theory is the fact that they tied the Lich King into it.
resurrecting one random elf that
Horrible.
will become important later. Make sure the humans win so the bad guys come back later. Then have Hat Guy die so Elf Lady predictably tries to unalive herself so that she can see
Right.
Big Bald Man. Make a deal she can't refuse, the Apprentice style, and start controlling things in the background even more again. Now here is my favorite part. Make sure the orc that has a few genocidal tendencies goes full sicko mode and must eventually stand trial in Pandaria. This is where you
Titans are void.
obviously time travel to another dimension so that a random other orc can
This
come
is
back to the main
ridiculous.
dimension and summon the Titan that you had on the back burner. Your super mega powered death plan hinges on interdimensional time travel. With this once dead orc back in the main timeline, have the Titan guy come to the planet he's just been chilling ignoring for some reason, and have his army
Still
be
going.
good enough at killing, but not quite good enough to win. Now, expect these random people on the planet to do a set of weird choices that has opened a space portal from their solar system to the main base of the bad guy. Since the base is right there, they can fight the literal Titan of Death, and you
Yeah,
now hope
send him to the
because they have
Shadowlands,
obviously won. The Death Titan breaks this random robot lady, and the real game begins. All the other stuff was child's play. Make the Elf Lady sleeper agent all evil now, and inevitably break that hat that you left on the planet for this exact
Oh my God.
moment. Congratulations! Now you can pull a blonde boy into the death zone and use him to get a shiny circle from one person. And that's it. The mortals will give you the rest of them, don't worry. You've done it! You have all the Lego pieces you need to find where you left your super suit and remake, unmake, undo, redo, bless you, Gazoon-type reality. Now, as it happens, I don't really
All of that was part of the plan, and we still don't know why. Why? He was trying to stop or prepare reality for what is to come. We still don't know why. That's ridiculous. And he wasn't exaggerating. All that shit is part of the jailer's lore.
agree
crazy.
with that assessment of the jailer's plan. He always felt a lot more like an opportunist to me, taking any tiny little chance where it came and
Perfectly
improvising to
logical
build
and
off any events that panned out as a result. His plan seemed like an intricate four-dimensional chess move because of survivorship bias. This is the only one of thousands, maybe millions of tiny, seemingly insignificant opportunities he took,
Yeah, they're
which
all the
by
ones that
chance
worked,
played
yeah.
out and came to anything. The jailer isn't a genius, he's just got a literal eternity to get lucky. Unfortunately, my description is 1,000 times more interesting than anything we were shown in game, though.
True.
Because we don't know what his motivations are at all, and because we only find out his objective in the final moment of his death. Everything he does feels random and without context. Even the reveal that he planned to use the Forge of Souls to eventually drill into Azeroth's world soul fell flat, because like, why? Oh yeah, you're not going to tell us why? Well, us then, I guess. The jailer's plan is
We don't know.
incomprehensible, silly, and most importantly, we still don't really know the reason behind any of it, which all in all made it a not very satisfying narrative experience. 3 out of 10. Obviously, Iridikron's plan probably has another 2 or 3 expansions to play out, so we can't fairly judge it as a whole yet, but already
but we know
I
his endgame.
understand it more, thanks to some really neat storytelling in Dragonflight. The Dawn of the Aspects dungeon is really
Great.
unusual from a narrative point of view, because at its core, it is doing something that we've seen baddies do a million times before. We fight to overcome some perils before the baddie pops up and goes, ah, ha, 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 that's just what I wanted you to do.
my
It
old
was
intro
part of my
music, yeah.
plan all along. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Arthas does this atop Ice Crown. Ashara does it when she uses our Hearts of Azeroth to power up the release mechanism on the Zoth's jail. It's a staple. But what makes this dungeon so good is that it first has us play out the alternative. First time through, we actually defeat Iridikron and foil his plan. Game over, no World Soul Saga, it's done, nice one, we win. But Iridikron brought Dios and the Infinites along with him, and by focusing on Stonebro, we let Library Twink achieve their goal, which is to turn the Proto-Aspect Norse Dormu into his infinite Murazond evil self.
Evil? Not really. We should have let this happen. This is Murazan's true. This is the true. No, this is his Norse Dormu's true form. This is his anti-Titan form, the form that can really see the future, or all futures, right? No, I've always said Norse Dormu's power is really shitty because he can never fucking tell what the hell's going on. He's the worst future teller ever because his shit's always clouded by the Titans because they only want him to see what they want him to see, whereas Murazan can see everything. I'm getting off on a tangent. It doesn't have much to do with whether or not Iridikron's a good villain, but yeah, I agree with him. The way this played out, where we tried to stop this, but in fact we made it even worse.
Something
cool.
which, at least in the present moment, is the bigger danger. So we have no choice. We have to go back in time and do it all again. Stop Dios this time, but in so doing, we allow Iridikron now to get what he came here for, the essence of Galakrond, and escape. And I think this is so good, because it shows that Iridikron was right to fear us. We absolutely are capable of beating him. We do beat him, and he knew that. And it wasn't just a thing he said, he acted on it and mitigated for it. Teaming up with the Infinites didn't just get him into the time ways, it gave us a more immediate danger to deal with. Even if it took us killing him first time to realize it. I think, personally, it's probably the best bit of storytelling WoW has ever done in a dungeon. It's really clever, and it shows Iridikron having to stay one step ahead of us, not because he's a 9,000 IQ criminal mastermind, but because he has to survive. Because we are.
His plan only worked, luckily for him, but he had the backup plan, right? He had the backup plan, and he goes, okay, if these guys defeat me, which I feel like they might be able to, if they do, this is my backup plan, and hopefully, tail crossed, giant, giant primalist incarnate balls crossed. If they defeat me, my backup plan could kick in and work, maybe. And it did. And that's not because he's got a freaking 400 IQ. It's because what he did was, he took a chance, and it worked. It worked for him. Because we're idiots.
It almost casts him as the underdog in his battle with us, just like he is in his battle with the Titans. Or at least up until this point, because this scene is where he reveals his overall objective to us. Reveals that he's teaming up with the Void, who he's hoping to use in the same way that he used the Infinites, although, to be honest, that might not be quite so simple, and sets up a through line across the next 3 expansions. Even though there is so much of Iridikron's plan to come, I feel like I understand it, even at this early stage. And when you understand a plan, that's when you can do twists. Twists when you don't understand the thing that's happening isn't really a twist, it's just more confusing. So another win for Iridididdy.
Taking W's.
A big bad has to feel impactful. Their actions have to feel like they are really messing stuff up. Otherwise, why bother stopping them? The Jailer is an interesting example of this because his impact on the lore and story was huge, touching on some of the most important characters and moments in the game's history. And it's honestly one of the reasons people hate him, because with Zovaal there is a strong feeling throughout the player base,
because he ruined a lot of the lore. I felt like Blizzard tried to just piggyback him off of some of the best lore the game had, and to basically put him on a pedestal and be like, look, you love this lore, then you gotta love this guy. And all it really did was muck up all the lore. It was pretty shitty. I'm still upset by it.
His important position in the lore is not earned, and that he was basically shoehorned in as a shortcut to making him a more formidable enemy than he really was. The way that it was revealed that in fact
it's the same issue the new Star Wars movies have. Right? Rey feels like she didn't earn her power, like she didn't train long enough to be able to do the things she does. They just kind of brought Luke back just to justify her and make her stronger than everyone else who came before, and then revealed that she's Palpatine's offspring and that's why she's strong. And it just all felt very unearned, unjustified, like very surface level. There's no depth to her character whatsoever. She's just strong because we said so and because Palpatine. That's it. It's very much the same shit.
He had been behind the Lich King on Azeroth made some sense in a way, and actually the new lore of Dreadlords being from the Shadowlands and working for the Jailer in helping to create the Lich King is genuinely, I think, an improvement. It never made sense to me that the Legion thought a Lich King was a great idea. And if Zovaal had just been more interesting, engaging, and impressive a character in his own right, Bliss might have even got away with that. But instead he turned out bland as a cardboard sandwich. So the way he is inserted into older lore goes from being a potentially interesting recontextualization to what feels like lazy CV padding on the part of the writers. Like that scene in The Passion of the Christ where Jesus invents the table. Like, I'm sorry, Mel, but if your Jesus isn't impressive enough already on his own merits, then chucking that in there isn't gonna help. And then there's the Sylvanas stuff. If the Jailer had been there throughout BFA as a presence, anything at all, even a faint one, it would have been so much easier to go along with the plot in that expansion, because it would have shown early on that the Banshee hadn't just randomly gone off the rails, but was working with someone for a specific aim. But of course, he couldn't appear in BFA, could he? Because I'm pretty sure that when that expansion started, the narrative team didn't even know
that's
the
how
jailer was.
It's very obvious they didn't know, that they were just writing this shit as they went. They were just showed up to the office that day like, hey guys, we got to figure this shit out. Let's write like 3 more pages and we'll develop it and everything, and then we'll write another 3 pages after that and figure out where we're going to go from there. They were just writing it as they went.
Working with Sylvanas
flying by the seat of their dick.
They hadn't even decided what he looked like until after he'd already appeared in the features trailer. So if the jailer feels crowbarred into other people's stories, that's because he basically was. No such problem for Iridikron, who has a past and important history with the dragon aspects, but whose impact on the story is very much happening in the here and now. He is yet to do the things he will be remembered for, but at least it'll be events that we've seen him put into motion ourselves. Things he has done rather than being given credit for stuff other characters have done in the past. So even though we are all still at the very beginning of Iridikron's story here, I gotta hand him the win on this one too. Sorry, well done, congratulations.
Yeah.
And finally,
no
are they a
L's
dumb-looking robot? Very important section, this one. Are they a dumb-looking robot? The jailer is, yeah, so he gets a 0 out of 10 because dumb-looking robots are dumb. Iridikron, as far as we know, not a dumb-looking robot. So, yay, another win in the bag for him. Okay, time to tally up the scores. Iridikron triumphs over the jailer in introductions, the closest category, personality,
W's.
motivation, plan, impact, and not being a dumb-looking robot, giving him a clean sweep, total domination, flawless victory. Thank goodness, frankly, it would have been kind of awkward if he hadn't, since we're stuck with him until the last Titan. But what do you think? Do you agree with my assessment of our new big bad in comparison to the failings of Zovaal? Are you happy with him being the antagonist focus for the next handful of installments? Or am I completely wrong as usual, and actually Iridikron is the worst baddie and I am the worst YouTuber, and you want to tell me exactly why? Write your mean comments. I'll read them. I'll be sad. You'll be the winner. And thank you for joining us today. If you like this video, don't thank us. Thank our patrons who give their actual real life money to make all of our work happen. And guys, seriously, thank you, because without you there would be a whole lot less Taliesin and Evertel. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, my name is
Where's the song from? The song's great.
No, my name is Taliesin from me and Evertel. Until next time, cheerio.
Man, that was a great video. That was a great video, honestly. Wow. Yeah, Iridikron is far superior to the jailer, aka Zovaal, in every way possible. Now, if you want to see a story where the jailer or Zovaal was rewritten to actually be a compelling villain, I'll make sure that video shows up somewhere on the screen once this one is done playing for you. Click it, check it out. I did that lore myself. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. But this video, great. Great video from Taliesin. I loved it.